Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my big Wizarding World films ranking 2019 edition. And at the time of this going out, it should celebrate my 10th anniversary of being a Harry Potter fan since I read The Philosopher's Stone. I read the first 5 chapters on the 30th of September 2009. Gone into a bit more of history before, but basic recap is after I read the first chapters on that night, and then up to, I think it was the 5th of January 2010, I read the entire 7-book series, ending with the end of the final novel around early January 2010. Checked out the Goblet of Fire film as the first film I saw after reading that book, and simultaneously the Half-Blood Prince film after reading that book, and also the Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, and all of the Phoenix films in early 2010. And of course, that from end of 2010, and of course from the end of reading the final book to when part 1 was released, that was the my gap experience between reading all of the books and also watching all of the films by the time I got to Order of the Phoenix for the first time, to getting to Deathly Hallows Part 1, and it was kind of a great time anticipating the final 2 films, especially as they were based on my final novel. Favourite novel of the series, and I think it's still one of my favourite books, if not my favourite book. Possibly, it's just a great story. And so then we got to the Deathly Hallows Part 1 on the 19th of November 2010. I actually had an inset day at school that day, so me and my dad went to see an afternoon screening of the film, and it was a brilliant day. Before we even went to see the film, I mean, not really much that would sound like it was a good day. But it was a great day, and the film topped it all off, and that was an experience. And of course, 2 days after the part 2 came out, that was on a Friday, but I didn't have an inset day then, but we managed to see it on the Sunday, and wow, that was an amazing ending. I had to kind of contemplate it a little bit when I got back home. Kind of have done that a few times since watching it, though. Each time I watched it, I've had to do that, especially on the latest viewing. But my God, what an amazing film. And of course, the Fantastic Beasts films have come out since the start November 2016, and yeah, they're good. I don't know if they're quite up to scratch as the original films, especially the first installment. Sorry, Fantastic Beasts fans, but you know, they're still good, and I actually think Crimes of Grindelwald is a good film. And I am looking forward to the other 3 films that will be coming out soon. It will be just over 2 years for the next film. So, with that in mind, because the ranking of the Fantastic Beasts and the Wizarding World series will be updated after each new film, let's get the 2019 edition out of the way, and to celebrate 10 years of me being a Harry Potter film fan, I may get round to reviewing and ranking the novels at a later point, including Cursed Child as in novel form, maybe also the screenplays for Fantastic Beasts as well, 1 and 2, and maybe 3 by that point, but we'll see how that goes. But, okay, the Harry Potter films, okay, so the Wizarding World films ranking goes. The films we have are Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and The Crimes of Grindelwald. So, okay, starting off with number 10. Okay, number 10, I think, is the only film in this entire franchise so far that I would give a lower score than lower than a 9 out of 10 for my score. That's what I gave in my review, and I'm not really willing to change it anytime soon. FYI, I did check out the 2 Fantastic Beasts films as well whilst watching the Harry Potter films for my retro channel ranking and main channel ranking for the last 2. But yeah, this film, I've already reviewed it. The score I gave it is an 8 out of 10, and if you've seen the reviews of the Harry Potter films recently, you'll know that the previously 8 out of 10 Potter films were raised to 9, and the previously 9 films were raised to 10, and joined the previously 10 films that are still 10. Also, one of the 2 Fantastic Beasts films was a 9, and that was Crimes of Grindelwald, which means my number 10 choice, the 8 out of 10 film, is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Yeah, the first film, I think this is good, but I don't think it's quite as good as the first 8 films of this series, nor do I think but I don't think it's as good as the 8 Potter films, and controversially, I actually think Crimes of Grindelwald is the better Fantastic Beasts film so far. Say what you want, but you won't change my mind, and I think that's from a Texas song, a song by a band called Texas. But yeah, I think Fantastic Beasts is good. The first film is good, but yeah, could have been a little bit better. Some enjoyable moments, but some weak moments. Same could be said for Crimes of Grindelwald, but I enjoyed that one a little bit more, and it actually started building on the whole Grindelwald story arc that I think was kind of a bit shoved into the first film, whilst in the second film it works a little bit better. And okay, moving on to number 9. Number 9 is my least favourite Harry Potter film, so it's not Crimes of Grindelwald, for those who were hoping for that to be second to last, as it wasn't last, because I know a lot of people don't like it, but number 9 choice is my least favourite Harry Potter film, and if you've seen either rankings, you've probably spoiled either way, but you know, I like this film a bit more on the rewatch, and I thought it was a pretty good pretty good film adaptation. It's just that I'm not really keen on the story, apart from the climax and a few other places in throughout, and yeah, but I still think this is a great film, and I think the adaptation does a great job, despite having to take a couple of stuff up, despite having to take quite a bit of stuff out. And whilst there were bits that I'm glad were missed out, other parts I think could have been kept in. This is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, one of the main things I did want to stay in was the Snape Memory extended cut. We briefly saw Snape's Memory, but I think we could have had the rest of it with Lily coming to Snape's defense, and what we saw in the chapter of the same name in the book. I thought that was a really great chapter, the best bit of the book before we got to the Ministry, and yeah, and I think the Snape's Memory stuff could have been great. I also would have liked to have seen a bit more Dumbledore's army before they got ratted out. Yeah, but it's okay. But the first half an hour is handled really well, but it does seem that with these bigger books, quite a lot more stuff is happening in the pre-Hogwarts chapters, and it's taking longer to get there. In fact, it's almost as long as the first 2 books for the pre-summer stuff, for the summer stuff before we get back. Then again, these are the longer books, so but you know, handled well, and I think it's done really brilliantly, and David Yates proves himself to be a great director. My number 8 spot is pretty much on a similar thing when it comes to the missing out some of the stuff from the books. This time I think it suffers a little bit more from it. Such as stuff that I think should have been more focused on, but were kind of put to the side, or would have been nice to see an adaptation of and expanded more. But no, it was kind of put to the side for the romantic angle and the teen drama stuff. Number 8 is, of course, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Great film, and it's great for Harry, and it's great to see Harry and Dumbledore trying to find Lord Voldemort's weaknesses, or try and find his defense and destroy them with the discovery of the Horcruxes. However, I think the teen love drama stuff does kind of get in the way of some of the other important stuff surrounding it, and this is supposed to be a darker installment. Whilst there's plenty of dark scenes, teen drama stuff, it does give some light leverage. But, you know, some of it does feel a bit awkward, but it's still handled well. I think it would have been nice to have a bit more of the expanded Voldemort's backstory. We got what we needed, but I think we could have had a bit more of it. We could have expanded a little bit more. It would have been nice to see a few more chapters explored. But nevertheless, it was a great film, and really enjoyable and really interesting to watch. Moving on to number 7. This is the other Fantastic Beasts film on this ranking, and it is of course Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Yeah, I just like this one more than the first one. Enough said. Okay, I just liked it more. I thought the story was better. I think, like I said, it handles the Grindelwald stuff better here than it did in the first film. In the first film, it just felt a bit added in, just because. And then this film, it works a lot better because the story is now starting to focus on it, so it gets her really good there. And I also think the characters are handled a bit better. We'll see how Queenie's character develops in the next film. But I think they do quite a lot of good stuff in this film. Yeah, there are some strange plot choices and strange character choices throughout the film, but I still think it's handled well, and the cliffhanger on reflection actually is pretty good. It could have been held on for a little bit longer to explain it, perhaps. But you know what? It's still good. I think it's a good film. I'm not going to gush over and love it like Harry Thomas, although all the power to you, by the way. But I'm not going to go out and absolutely hate it like lots of other people. All power to you as well, by the way. Just so long as you respect my opinion, and I'll respect yours. We can agree to disagree, like Boris the Animal in Men in Black 3 says. So yeah, Crimes of Grindelwald, I like it. Though it is the 7th best film of the Wizarding World series so far, it's not that high up in that regard. It's the best Fantastic Beasts film so far, though. Okay, moving on to number 6. Pretty much the top 6 is now all Harry Potter. So we're pretty much recapping the Harry Potter rankings. So again, because I've already talked about these films in length in the reviews and their own rankings, I will quickly go through this ranking, and as I've been trying to. Number 6 is my favourite of the 9 out of 10 films, including Fantastic Beasts 2, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Yeah, despite being a road trip movie for quite a lot of the second hour, it's still a really engaging and really enjoyable film, and I love how different it is to the second film, despite being made at the same time. And yeah, it's just wonderful. And like I said, I saw this film at the cinema. First time seeing it, of course. Of course, I only saw it once at the cinema, same for Part 2 and the 2 Fantastic Beasts films. But on a day that I consider one of my favourite days I've ever had, and yeah, it was a great experience. I enjoyed it. I think I probably loved it more back then than I did on later rewatches, but my god, what a great time. And I still really enjoy it even to this day. In fact, I probably even enjoy it more than I did beforehand, apart from on that first day, and maybe the first few rewatches. But since then, kind of went down a little bit, especially as I loved the other films a bit more, apart from 5 and 6. But I still consider it a great film. Yeah, it does have a lot of slow bits, but I think because of the book did that, it's trying to stay faithful. And to be honest, when part 2 wasn't as faithful as this one, same for Half-Blood Prince, I think this one stays extremely faithful to the original novel, and I think it's handled really well. And there's some nice additional extra bits, like the dance in the tent. That was a nice moment. But yeah, it's a great instalment, and I think some people need to give it another chance. But yeah, it's brilliant stuff. And also, the second best soundtrack of the entire series is in this film, and that may sort of, like with Doctor Who the TV movie, that may contribute to my love in a way of it. But I still think it's a brilliant film. Number 5, on the other hand, has a bit more of a similar feel to the film that came before it. Possibly due to having the same director, same crew, same composer, and just having a very similar feel, but a little bit darker with a couple of changes in the scores. This is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Myself absolutely adoring this film on the rewatch. Maybe not as much as the top 4, but on the rewatch I kind of adored it. I think, like Philosopher's Stone, it does a fantastic job of adapting the book, and it's handled brilliantly, and it's the same magical, whimsy fantasy story that you get from the light-hearted earlier installments before we get darker later on, but also introducing the darker elements here. Well, we did at the very end of Philosopher's Stone, but a bit more darker here and some really great stuff. The CGI Basilisk holds up a bit more better than Fluffy from Philosopher's Stone, and the visual effects still look brilliant. Considering it's 2002, it still manages to hold up and looks incredibly brilliant. And lots of great stuff. It is pretty long though, but I think in order to get as much of the book they can in one film without the need for an extended cut, although there is an extended cut as well, I think it manages it spectacularly. The first film also has an extended cut, by the way. Okay, moving on to number 4. Number 4, like in the Harry Potter ranking, is the same numbered film in the series as the ranking position it is here, and the same for Deathly Hallows Part 1 in the Harry Potter ranking. This is, of course, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. My good friend Ollie Pajak, aka Mr. TARDIS 11, will be extremely happy to know that this film is this high up on this ranking, even though it's not top 3, it's not number 1, but it is a very high regarded film. It's top half of the Potter films and definitely top 5 of the Wizarding World films. And yeah, this film again, brilliant stuff. Best film score of the series. Although I do love John Williams' scores, Patrick Doyle, to me, gives the best score of the entire series in Goblet of Fire, some of the best music, best opening track with The Story Begins, his take on the Hedwig's theme, that was amazing. It's really great stuff, and you can go straight into this film and tell this is going to be a completely different direction to the previous 2 films. Although Alfonso Cuarón took over for Prisoner of Azkaban, he still managed to keep it quite light-hearted whilst introducing it to be a bit more darker, and also had some it was probably the most comedic film as well. Goblet of Fire goes dark pretty early on. It gets really dark at the end, but goes pretty dark early on. There's no messing around, and that's brilliant. And what follows the rest of the film is just absolutely amazing. And yeah, like Chamber of Secrets, this film has gone up in opinion massively to go to 10 out of 10 spots. And joining the 10 out of 10 films that have been 10 out of 10 for quite some time, are the top 3. And number 3 is, of course, the first film, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. To me, this is a perfect adaptation. Yeah, there are a few things that kind of missed out. Some of them might be in the extended cut. Some of them maybe just be missed altogether. But I think this is a very strong adaptation of the first book. Might be the best adaptation of the whole lot. This or Chamber of Secrets. Definitely does a brilliant job with telling the story. And it's just absolutely wonderful. And it's a fantastic way to introduce the audience to this world and get us invested in the characters and build up the story. And yeah, it's very whimsical, very magical, very light-hearted to start with. But you know what? That's what you want from the first film, and first novel as well. From the first one, you don't want it to go all out dark like we did at the start of Goblet of Fire. No, you want to get to that point or just before it, or just afterwards, before that happens. No, you want to get kind of invested with it first, and then as we go along, it gets darker, just as J.K. Rowling wanted, and I think she struck gold with that idea. Apart from the meandering in the 5th book, but okay, never mind. But Philosopher's Stone, fantastic introduction. And that's in both mediums. Number 2. Number 2 takes the best of both and kind of merges them in together for the 3rd installment. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Alfonso Cuarón's direction in this film manages to capture the book brilliantly and is able to keep it light-hearted, fun and enjoyable, but continue to develop the darker stuff in preparation for the more darker tone that will be introduced a bit more in the next film. I also love how he takes the drama in this film, and also he's able to make the more comedic, the most comedic installment of the series, or at least the one with the most humour. As far as I can wear. I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be getting a bit darker, but it doesn't mean it can't have some light humour in it. A few points and some really great character moments, and it's just a thrill to watch. It's just so good. And now number 1. Number 1, despite a few changes to the books that I don't personally agree with, I think are weak and possibly some of the worst changes. But besides that, number 1, the best film of the series, is absolutely amazing. Wraps up the series perfectly. Great adaptation of the book, although, like I said, some changes I didn't think were that great, but it still ends the series on a spectacular note. And this is, of course, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Wow, absolutely amazing. Just amazing. The first half an hour at Gringotts and getting ready to go there, amazing. The next hour setting up the Battle of Hogwarts, amazing. And wrapping up the first hour with the start of the spectacular battle. It's just so amazing. Everything is working so well. And then the second hour is also so great and really ties up the story. And without the credits, this film would probably be the only one under 2 hours. Yeah, like I said, there are a few changes I don't really agree with. I think Voldemort's death could have been handled a bit better. I think that we should have had a bit more exposition when Harry was telling Voldemort about the Elder Wand in the book and what he said to Ron and Hermione at the end of the film. I think we should have had him talk to Voldemort a bit more about it, even if it's just the basics. The bits that the people will remember, the basics, that we could have had that. And I really hate the bit where he snaps the Elder Wand. I hated that since I first saw it. But apart from a few issues, fantastic film. I absolutely love this film. Always have a joy watching it. Apart from the very end, where they decide to have one of the tracks from the soundtrack that just gets me sad every time that it's ending. I want to feel happy that I got to the end. I know I'm going to be sad that it's over, but I want to feel happy at the same time because it was a great experience watching it. And of course, I can always go back to rewatching it, but I don't want to end on a sad note. I don't want it to end sad, otherwise I'm going to go away sad. This is why I prefer films ending on a happier note, even if it's a sad ending. I want them to end on a happy note so people can leave in a good mood, or depending on the ending of the outcome of the film, or at least be happy to come back and revisit the film or the film series at a later point because they had such a great time and the final track left them on a good note. They would think, yeah, this would be one I would like to come back to. Maybe even for a second screening at the cinema, perhaps. But yeah, it just left me quite sad with that final track. And this will be the final film chronologically, unless they decide to make any Cursed Child films, or film, depending on whether they want to do a 2-part one or not. But yeah, until such a thing happens, This is the last one chronologically, and it does kind of end it in a sad way, kind of sadly with that last track. And that's kind of my main issue, excluding the changes from the books. But you know what? It's still a great ending, and it's a fantastic final film of the series, and I just love watching it each time. So yeah, that's my ranking of the Wizarding World films as of 2019. Of course, it will change following the the releases of future films, as they will be added, and maybe some will swap around further down the line. But as for the 30th of September 2019, this is, well, at time of recording, it's the 26th. Yeah, 26th. But at time going out, it should be Monday 30th of September 2019. And as of these dates, this is the ranking. Number 10, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Number 9, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Number 8, Half-Blood Prince. Number 7, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Number 6, Deathly Hallows Part 1. 5, Chamber of Secrets. 4, Goblet of Fire. 3, Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone if you live in the United States, India or Pakistan. Number 2, Prisoner of Azkaban. And number 1, Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's so good. And yes, you do need to watch Part 1 first. And not only is that a requirement, it's an instruction. So yeah, that's the Wizarding World ranking as of 2019 edition. What do you think? Comment below. Be free to argue in the comments which ones you prefer and which ones you least prefer. If you haven't seen all of them, that's absolutely fine. You can talk about the ones you have seen. And yeah, I don't mind if you say Grindelwald. And yeah, it's okay for you to say Crimes of Grindelwald is your least favourite, if that's your decision. If you want to explain why, be free to. If not, that's okay. It's your opinion. I'm not going to berate it for that. Same for if you do like it. And same for the first one. Same for Deathly Hallows Part 1. Same for Order of the Phoenix, etc., etc. And same if you aren't fans of ones that I consider the best, like Philosopher's Stone, Prisoner of Azkaban, or Deathly Hallows Part 2. Yeah, be free to talk about it in the comments below. Just try and be civil, try and be nice to each other and towards me. And yeah, and we'll all be happy. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. I've gone into a bit more of history since, but didn't have an inset day then either. But shut up! But I didn't have an inset. Shut up! But I didn't have an inset day. Seriously, shut up! Excuse me. And whilst quite a bit of that stuff was being cut out was good, quite a bit of a bit. Number 8. Yeah. But yeah, I personally like Crimes of Grindelwald. I just don't consider. I will prick. And like I said, this was on one of my favourite days that I've ever had. I managed to see this film for the first time on at the cinema at one of my CGI holds up really well, which is CGI holds up a bit more better than Philosopher's Stone's. Is ironically the same numbered film as its position. It's the same numbered rank. It's the same number of in the ranking as this. Although I love John Williams' score, Patrick joining the three previously were also and not only do I think that is a requirement, I think that is an extra requirement.